possible means you can adopt. And if the participants are native, even you can use some Malayalam languages, Malayalam phrases or Sanskrit phrases, which all people will be able to understand. That is the skill of your presentation. Now, today, we will go to a very much obscure subject, a very much shallow subject. I mean, say a subject which is not ordinarily a man will be able to present very easily. The subject I would propose today for our presentation is nudity and clothing must go together. Nudity and clothing must go together. So, for that effective presentation of this particular subject, I may be giving illustrations to some prominent personalities that might have come to your daily life, both religious and in our normal life. So be very much careful when I am to tell you this obscure or a very deep subject. I invite your attention to that. So whenever we are thinking about nudity, the first impression that we may have is something without clothes. But nudity has got another deep meaning, reality, the originality. As soon as a child is born in this world, it is nude, and so the originality is there. Without any kind of decorations over it, without any kind of garlandings over it, the child is nude, and you start enjoying the simplicity of the child or the reality behind the birth of a child. Likewise, you must be able to understand each and everything with the nudity sense of it, so that the nudity sense will make you understand what exactly or what the reality is behind the clothing. So nudity has got that sense also. That meaning also you will have to understand that nudity means originality and has got some kind of sense in it. When I'm talking about clothing, perhaps your ideas may go to Partha's clothings or Shimati clothings or Kalyan Sikhs and all those things. But clothing has got some other meaning also. That is to say, the artificiality that you are adding to the originality, nudity. When the nudity is artificially covered with some other garlands, unnecessary garlands, it has some other meanings of some other phrases and some other ends. That is what I want to express through new clothing. Now, if we are going to think about birth and death, birth, of course, is something which ordinary people can say that is a gynecological process which happens in the labor room in a hospital. More than that, if you are going to think about death, think about the unity of death. For example, think about the birth of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna had his birth in a prison. And very much interestingly, you will understand that all births are taken in prisons. No birth takes very freely. It is always in prison, always in confinement and dark. Darkly, all the births take place. You know, no births take place in the light, in the daylight, or rather in the brightness. It has got a nature of having the germination, and it has got the habit and the quality of taking sprouts in the dark recesses of darkness, and the not even the births of animals and not even the births of trees, rather the sprouting of trees, everything takes place in the dark recesses of earth and the darkness. Human birth, excepting for the gynecological reasons, all the births takes place in the darkness. And as soon as the birth, the real birth happens, that is in prison and that is in fetters. And you are in fetters. Up till that time, you are free to think about anything. You are free to think about everything in this universe. But as soon as you take birth in this universe, you are in fetters and you cannot have any kind of freedom as you would like. You will have to abide by the physical rules, or rather the fundamental rules, or rather the man-made rules. You will have to understand, as you are a social being, socially framed rules you will have to abide with. Then only you will be able to have your life, social life, in a smooth way. But at this time, I'm proud to say that even though socially there are boundaries and there are so many fetters in the social life, as far as your philosophical life, as far as your mental broadening is concerned, there is no kind of barrier. You can think as much as you can, and you can go, you can spread your wings of imagination and fly high up above the sky, and you can see the trees, and you can see even the stars below you. That much freedom you have got there. So as soon as the birth takes place, you are in fetters, as I told you. Likewise is the death. If you think that by death, if you are going to be free, again you are wrong. Again, if you have got a blessed life, of course, what is known as a blessed life, that blessed life is to see that you get amalgamated with this universal consciousness. If you lose that chance, if you miss this chance, of course, you are going to have another birth. That is again another fetter. You are again going to have a new chain in you. So birth and death has got simply this meaning, that the reason for death is just birth. If you take birth once, sure that you will die. And if you do not die, if you do not want to die, you must understand why you have taken birth, the reason for your birth. Not because of the wishes of the father and mother. Death has got its own serious realms. And if you go to those serious realms, you will understand the complication and the intricacy and the secret behind the birth. You yourself are the reason for your birth and nobody else. Nobody else has got a philosophical reasoning, philosophical justification for your death. You yourself are, but you yourself are the reason and the very atoll for the birth that you take in this universe. Likewise is death. Life is nothing but a dreary journey from birth to death and nothing else. And of course, it becomes very much valuable for you the moment you think that life is a means by where you are able to understand the reason for your birth. And the moment you understand the reason for your birth, you will be able to avoid all those clumsy reasonings, and you will be able to have an amalgamation with amalgamation with this universe, and you will not be having another fettered birth. Now, see, this is what I mean to say about nudity. So birth and death has got this nudity, this originality in it. That you must understand, and then only you will be able to know what has birth to do and why death happens, and how can one avoid death by avoiding birth even. So this is a very obscure subject. And if you want to know, if you want to express this idea, you must know the basis of death and birth. Then only you'll be able to express your ideas at least like me. There are experts who will be able to have give better explanations about this, but minimum you must have this much knowledge so that you will not fumble in while you are delivering a speech on such a very obscure subject. Now, the next subject I would like to tell you is about dreaming. You know, every time, whenever we meet with successful people, we hear them having very high dreams. What is a dream? Can you ever think about, or can you ever describe the quality of dream? The quality of our dream is still primitive, you know. We always dream in pictures. We never dream in words. If you go deep, you will understand that you always see dreams. No kind of words there are. Dreams are very much primitive. It is this primitiveness that is the reason for all kinds of clothing and guising, or rather covering the originality. Whenever you see a dream, you are not able to transcript that dream in words to others, whereas you can have the dream, and dreaming has got its own language, which is very primitive. The man over 100 years old, 100 years back, drummed in the same way as the modern man. No, the dream, quality of dream or the process of dream has got no kind of change in it. It is always the same. But when you are to transcript, when you are to tell out what you have dreamt, you use words that everyday used words you tell out. And that is the difficulty. That is the difference between dreaming and telling out the truth. Never the dream that you have once experienced, you will be able to spell out, you will be able to put it in by the word of your mouth in the exact way. Still, some kind of ambiguity, some kind of ambiguity will be there in your mind, and you will not be expressed it very correctly, because the very language of dream is not words, but pictures. Pictures always take you to some kind of ambiguity. Pictures has got that particular capacity to take you to ambiguity. Now, think about Jesus Christ. Whenever you hear the word, especially non-Christians, hear the word Jesus Christ, the first impression that comes to your mind is the crucified Christ. And that itself gives you a very sympathetic outlook to have a very simplified life without any kind of grandeur, and a pious life that gives you such a impression in your mind that has got an impact in your mind that you must be very simple, pious, and all those things. Just because this image, this picture of Jesus Christ, crucified Jesus Christ, comes to your mind. But have you ever thought about the smile that is there in the face of crucified Christ, in spite of the fact that he is crucified, in spite of the fact that tears are dripping down from his eye, in spite of the fact that blood drops are there oozing out from his hand, crucified hand, you must be able to see the endurance, the capacity of endurance of Christ in spite of the agony that he undergoes. That is the real life. He represents the real life. Life is, of course, not a bed of roses, as you know. Everywhere there are embodiments and everywhere there are obstacles. But if you want to be successful, you must have the feeling of optimism, and you must have the feeling of positivity. That is what is expressed through the smile in the face of Jesus Christ. The same is the smile that you will be able to find out rather, in the way from the face of Lord Krishna. He always smiles. In spite of all the decorations that you may say, you will be able to explain, like 4 arms, gada, and all those things. Sudarshana Chakra and all those things, those are all decorations which may take you away from the reality. If you want to understand the reality, if you want to understand in other words or in my own words, the nudity, the originality, you must go to the philosophical aspect of it. That is where the smile has got its own place and its own importance. So, what I mean to say in this particular occasion is that you should have the capacity to understand, or rather read in between the lines and read out of the lines also, so that you will be able to absorb, you will be able to assimilate in you what exactly is the meaning of nudity and what exactly is the meaning of clothing. Both has got its own original meanings, and you must not fail to understand that. See, these two subjects, very much obscure, very much difficult to explain subjects, dreaming, death, and birth, I have explained to my capacity, and I think some of you will be able to tell me as to how you will be able to explain in a general gathering like this. It matters much that one must be very much serious when you talk about a subject, rather an obscure subject like this. Everywhere there will be questions from every corners, and you must be able to answer those questions, and you will have the, what I mean to say is the capacity, or rather the steadiness to answer those questions must not fumble at all. And in this connection, I would like to explain a little more of the birth. See, the births are all alike. Even the birth of a human being, birth of even Lord Krishna, birth of Jesus Christ, everywhere you will be able to see that oneness. That oneness is something which you must be able to understand. If you understand that oneness, of course, you will know what is the meaning of birth. Krishna was born in jail. Everybody is born in jail and in fetters. Likewise, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, of course, is born in the night, darkness, and just like Krishna, he was also facing some kind of, all kinds of dangers in his life. King Herod was trying to kill him, and he was on the pretext that Jesus Christ will be his terminator, killed so many of children, and likewise is that of Sri Krishna also. There also, life is endangered always, in spite of the fact that he is a Lord, in spite of the fact that he was the adorned worship of Hinduism. He was also born in jail, and he also faced always the fear of death. That fear of death is the reason which all people are very much worried about. We must be very much careful of that, and we must know the very quality of birth. It is always in fetters and in darkness, and as soon as you take birth, you face all kinds of dangers till the life ends. And if you are blessed, that you will have a blessed life, and your end will be quite a fruitful one. In this connection, again, what I would like to tell you is about dream, which I have already explained. So the most important thing that we should have dealing with is, we should think about is another point associated with Krishna's birth is that he was born in a prison, as I told you, and in bondage. Likewise, that we are not able to understand the symbol that has been rightly understood by the meaning, by the word birth and death. A highly poetic expression has been misinterpreted as a historical event. If, in fact, every birth takes place in a prison, as I told you earlier, and so is death. There is a third point associated with the birth of Krishna, and that is the fear, as I told you. There is a danger, a threat of his being killed, but Does it not that every one of us face such a death? Of course. Soon after his birth, Krishna is confronted with the danger of death, with the fear of death. But it is precisely the case with each one of us. What do we do after being born? We begin to die and continue to die. There is yet another point associated with Krishna's birth, which is very much significant. It is that Krishna is confronted with any number of deadly dangers to his life and escapes them all. See, you will have to understand it. We will have to, I repeat it for your attention. Krishna encounters with any kind of dangers and he escapes them all. We also have to acquire this capacity of escaping from all the difficulties and fetters and death. Whoever comes to kill Krishna gets killed himself. Here we can say that death dies when it confronts Krishna. It uses every means to finish him and it fails utterly. This is very meaningful. It is not the same with all of us. Death can finish us in its very first attempt. We cannot escape in its onslaught. The truth is that we are as good as death. A small stroke, we will be no more. We really don't know that art of life that defeats death. Krishna's story is the story of victory over death. Death comes to him in countless forms and always goes back disappointed. We all know many stories where death in various guises encircled Krishna and courts defeat after defeat at his hands. But we never care to go deeply into these stories and discover their truth underlying them. It is that every day Krishna is triumphantly marching towards life, and every day death is laying down his arms before him. Every conceivable means is used to destroy him, and he frustrates them all and continues to live to the maximum. And then a day comes when death accepts defeat and surrenders to him. Krishna really represents life's triumph over death. But this truth has not been said so plainly as I am now saying it to you. And there is a reason for that too. People in the past ages had no way to say it so plainly. So it would be good to understand this clearly now. The more we go back into olden times, the more we will find that the way of thinking is pictorial and not verbal, as I told you earlier. Even now, with a very dreaming, of course, we use pictures and not images instead of our primitive, our language. The process of our dream, as I told you, is not up to date at all. It is not modernized. One distinctive feature of dream is that they express themselves wholly in pictures. I told you a little before. And that creation of pictures is the very important deep matter that we have to understand about dream. It does not have any kind of words. One of the reasons we find to understand of our dream is that our pictorial language, we do not use any kind of modern words that we use, or rather the contemporary words that you use to converse our ideas in our daily life. As far as Krishna is concerned, Krishna is very old in the sense that his stories were written at a time when man thought about his life and his universe, not so much in words, but in symbols, in images and pictures. Therefore, we now have to decode them to know what they want to convey. We have to translate them into our own language and words. It is significant that the life of Christ begins more or less in the same way as Krishna's. There is not much difference. For this reason, A good many people had disillusion. A few still cling to it, that Krishna never happened, rather, Christ never happened, that it is really the story of Krishna carried to Jerusalem. There is a great similarity between the stories of their birth, as I told you earlier. Jesus too is born on a dark night. He too is born amidst fear of death. As I told you earlier, Kamsa was trying to be his terminator. Likewise, King Herod also was trying to be the terminator of for Jesus Christ. Now, any number of children are killed because of this malicious motive of these two people. But for your information, I would like to make it clear that Christ is not Krishna. Even though similarities are there, Christ is not Krishna. Jesus is a different person, and the rest of his story is quite different. But the symbols and metaphors of their stories are very much similar, because all primitive minds are very much similar. You will be amused to know that the language of dreams, as I told you, is the same all over the world. An Englishman, a Japanese, and an Eskimo all dream alike. But the language that we use in our daily life for communication with one another are quite different and diverse. And the language of dreams, the language of myths, mythology, and Puranas is also the same all over the world. Therefore, the symbols, pictures, and parables describing the birth of Krishna and Christ are approximately the same. Now, by this note, not ever told similarities of Jesus Christ and Krishna, I think I took you all a long way out of your daily life and dreaming nights. Now I take leave for today, my friends, and assure you to continue with the heart-throbbing philosophy of Jesus Christ and Krishna in the seasons to come forth. Thank you, and thank you all. And before that, I would like to share my screen for a little more explanation over what I would like to tell you.
Sir, thank you.
Okay, sir, just a minute. You are able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Just a minute, please.
Yes, sir. It's visible. Can you make it full screen? Okay.
Yes. Now, this is the picture of Lord Krishna. You see how he is camouflaged with dressings. Minnum punnin kireedam tarivalakadagam kanji punjeramala Dhanyasri Valsa Kaustavam Dhanyasri Valsa Sri Kaustavam. These are the decorations that are given to Lord Krishna. But that particular decorations that are with him are not real. If you are going to be attracted by those decorations, you will be misled. You will have to understand the meaning of the blue color that he has and the smile that he bears in his face. He has in his face. The blue color tells the smile that is on his face always tells you as to how you should have a better idea about the philosophical thought of Lord Krishna. Likewise, you see, here you are able to see Krishna and Govastris. You see, the explanation goes like this. Agre paschami tejo nibidadarakalaya vali lobhaniyam piyusha plavidoham tadanu tadudari divya kaishora vesham tarunyarambharamyam paramasukara saswadyan Ravidam Naradur Velsal Upanishad Sundari Mandalaicha. That explanation has got a different meaning also. But here, for a man who looks from outside, he will understand that here Krishna is depicted by so many beautiful Goba ladies, Goba girls, and he is amidst those girls, and he is enjoying playing on the flute. But the inner meaning goes to tell that Sandranandava Bodham. By looking at this picture, that girls around him and the flute that he has and the music that comes out of his flute, you must not be attracted with them. You must not get limited with those imaginations and those pictures. You must be able to understand Sandranandava Bodham, the thickness, the density of that particular philosophy that he wants to tell you. In spite of all these decorations, I am that. Ajanandimam Mudha Manushim Tanyum Ashradam. You must understand that I am not this body. Inside the body, that universal truth is there. That is what makes me very much important and relevant in this universe. The moment you understand that only, my presence or your presence in this universe, why you have born in this universe becomes relevant. Otherwise, you will be totally irrelevant. Likewise, you are able to see Christ on the other hand. He is here. You see, even you might have the first, as I told you here, the first impression as soon as Jesus Christ's name is told to you, the first impression that may come before you is his crucified picture. And you find pity with that. But instead of feeling pity, you must be able to find out the smile that is very much prominent in his lips in spite of all the agony that he undergoes. Those are the matters that are the nakedness of truth. The truth is very much naked, and you must be able to find out that truth which is naked and with your inner eye, and you must be able to understand the clothing over it. Of course, nudity always is covered with clothing. The relevance of nudity is always presented to you by some kind of decorations on it. And those decorations are always giving you a soothing sense to understand what is the nudity behind it. These are the some of the points that I would like to share with you today. And thank you very much for sparing me your time, and hope you will have some kind of questions to ask me, as I have been detailing you some kind of subject which was very deep and which would be very much confusing you. I expect you to ask you some kind of questions so that I will be pleased to give you clear those doubts. As one more request is there from my side, as YouTube streaming is going on, all the participants will be able to have a revision at home from the YouTube. The password, or rather the details, the link of the YouTube you can have from our PD. And later on, in any case, if you want any kind of clearing of doubts, you can contact me in my WhatsApp number, which I am now posting in the chat box. Now, Febin Madam, I think I take leave, and let us have a discussion if anyone is pleased to have a discussion.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have our interactive session. Okay, so I see that Moti sir has raised his hand. Moti sir.
Yeah, Vicharabindu sir, can I?
Sir.
Yeah. Actually, what you presented was very, 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 very deep.
Sir.
And I understand that when you are talking about the nudity or the originality and the clothing. I think you have been trying to tell about the covering of truth.
Yeah, that is it.
Yeah, the covering of the truth. And you are connecting this birth, death, and the dream.
Yes.
The language of dream is all over the world. You said so.
Victorian.
And you are comparing the life of Krishna with the life of Jesus Christ.
Not life, but the birth.
The birth of, yeah, because yes, I can understand, because, and the one more point I have to add is that in both the cases there is a simplicity in the birth,
Right.
because Jesus was born in a very simple background, as well as there is always this birth happened under some threatening of being killed.
That is it.
Yeah, both Jesus and Krishna faced that during the birth. And when you pictured Christ as the crucified one, I being a Christian, actually in my mind, it is not the crucified Christ always, but it is the open-handed Christ.
Really.
This open-handed is actually a gesture indicating the
Ability
divinity as well as the confidence, because you know that Jesus Christ was was presented as a very good speaker.
Sure.
So that public speaking skill with open hands is a very positive gesture while you are speaking. So that picture of Jesus Christ is in me. And my doubt is that these pictures, you talked about the ambiguity in seeing pictures and all during dreaming.
Yes.
And you said about the language of dream seen by everybody all over the world. Is it the same all over the world? That is my doubt, because if a European is seeing a dream, it may not be the same as a Malayali dreaming. Yeah, I have a doubt in that. And another thing is that why you take the birth only of Christ and Krishna and not looking at the death? That is my question, actually.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for asking such relevant questions.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing, I will start with the last one that you have asked. Why I have taken birth only, not the death process of these eminent personalities like Krishna and Jesus Christ. Why I took Krishna and Jesus is because those names and those personalities have given deep impression on your daily life. I will be able to make so many examples. I will be able to elucidate so many examples out of their life, first of all. Now, in my program that is given to me, I have got 1 or 2 or 3 sessions on the same subject, and I will be able to come to that part of death on a later time. That is why I just missed that particular subject. Then about dream, Malayali dream and English dream, a Hindi dream, there are no differences. Everybody dreams in pictures only, not by word of mouth. No, every dream is in picture. Everybody, even the man who was born 100 years back from our life, he also dreams in the same way. He also dreamt in the same way as we would dream, and the very process of dream will go like this for many years. Otherwise, some kind of electronic device will have to be injected into us to have a dream in our words. Dream is, of course, in pictures, and that is the ambiguity that is embedded in dream. Dream, you cannot dream in the dream, even though there may be conversations going on, you will not be able to hear the words. You will not be able to hear anything. Even though you hear the very marvelous sound or the very horror sound that is being produced by an elephant, you will see all those things. Even though you may hear, you will not be able to reproduce those sounds, or you will not be able to describe how horrible that sound was. When you see a lion and when it just horrors, you will not be able to tell it out how much it was, but you will be able to feel it. Likewise are the pictures. They're all pictorial. Pictorial are the language of dream. Everybody, everywhere it is like that. Researchers has come out with the result that dream has got only pictures and not the word that we use in everyday life. And Motusar again, as a Christian, you told me that the crucifixion of Christ, or rather the crucified Christ, tells you his very symbolization of accepting everything. I think you might have noted that every non-Christians have such a thought when the image of crucified Christ comes. I have specified that particular point. Non-Christian people. Christians, of course, have that pious and that august mentality that is represented through crucified Christ is there. But common people, non-Christians, always think that there is some kind of piousness, there comes some kind of agony, there is some kind of suffering that is represented through the crucified form of Christ. But all those agonies are just clothing over the reality of Christ. And Christ, of course, smiles even when there is a movie, there is Passion of Christ, whereby you will be able to see even at the time of himself being crucified, he has got that peacefulness just coming out of very prominently pictured in his, comes out from his face. And that particular image of Christ for the endurance of all difficulties and always be peaceful and pleasant in his life is being pictured. But that particular aspect is in some way or other kept in disguise by the clothing that has been, or by the other decorations that have been attributed to him. The picture that I have shown here does not represent the crucified Christ, but represents a blessing Christ who is very much indebted, who is very much determined to bless all people and not to curse anybody. That is not the duty. Giving out curse is not the duty of the God. It is, of course, we misunderstand him for that. He is always present. He is always peaceful. He is always in a blessing mood. If you just really understand him that he is inside you, leave it for Christ or Krishna. For all gods, he is inside you and he is always in a blessing mood. The only difficulty is that, or the only impediment that you face is that you will have to understand him that he is always with you. And if as early as possible, you must reveal, you must awake to this idea, this principle that it is not in any other asylum that Krishna or Jesus Christ or Allah is kept. It is prevailing very prominently in your own self, and your own self is that. The moment you understand that, the very clothing that you attribute to him will be shredded away, and the nudity and the originality you will be able to understand, and you will be able to have a peaceful, comfort, blessed life. And the death will not be in fetters, on which I will be giving another explanation on my next class. Thank you very much, Moti sir. Moti sir, hope I am audible to you.
Yeah. I was not able to unmute. That was the problem. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the reply.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah. I thought it is over by this session. I don't know that this is a continuing process.
It goes to 2 or 3, for another 4 sessions, the same subject will be dealt with, because it has got, as you told me, it has to, I will have to touch the death points also.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Mr. Raju Philip has raised hand. Febin man, please unmute him.
Sir, please
Please.
unmute Raju, sir.
You have not unmuted. You're not able to unmute. What happened?
Sir.
Ah, yes.
Thank you very much, Vicharabindu sir, for this great speech.
Sir.
Actually, as Moti sir has said, it is beyond our understanding, and it's very difficult to understand this hearing once. As you have suggested, we will go to the
Exercise.
this Facebook and just listen to it again. Just only a concept. Jesus Christ was supposed to be having a celibate life, I mean, brahmacharya. And I am a non-Hindu, what we came to know from.
Just a minute, sir.
Yes,
Brahmachari, you use the word, no?
yeah, brahmacharya.
Yes, very good.
Celibate. But what about Lord Krishna? We heard the story that he is having 16,008 wives.
Very good.
It is something which is you have to take literally, or some kind of symbolic meaning for that.
Very, very fine, very fine. First of all, you must understand what is brahmacharya. Most of the people get confused when they hear the word brahmacharya, not getting married or not getting into a family life. You always misunderstand that word brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means, Brahma means Brahat, that which is filled, that which is filling the whole universe. It does not give chance for the existence of anything else but for that. And everything that you see are just illusions on brahmacharya, Brahma. Hope you understand. Consciousness, in other words, very simple words. Brahma, Brahatcha Brahmaha. So Brahma is a Sanskrit word. The equal word for in English is consciousness, bodha. The bodha, the consciousness inside you, is the one that is undividedly overfilled in this universe. And in this consciousness only, you are able to see illusions like me and you. They are mere illusions because after some time we may disappear into thinness. That which is permanently here in this universe is Brahma, which is consciousness. Consciousness never dies as it is not born. That which takes birth, of course, sure, will have to die. As the consciousness, the universal consciousness has not taken birth, it is there permanently. And that man who understands about the depth of this consciousness or Brahma is the man who is known as Brahmachari. Brahmachari has got the meaning that he who worships, he who knows the depth and the seriousness and the gravity of Brahma, the consciousness of this universe is Brahmachari, and it is misrepresented as living away or doing away with family life and doing away with your social life. Hope that point is clear.
Yes.
Now, the second point, what was it?
Lord Krishna was having 16,008 wives.
That is. Yes. See, where there it is the pictured life of Sri Krishna. You see, even though it has been described in stories, in Upanishads and in such authoritative books, never it has said that he had this kind of ladies around with him. All those ladies, the pleasant-faced ladies are depicted as Upanishads and Vedas. All those ladies that are represented around him are Upanishads and Vedas. And it is Sandram. It is very much dense. You will not be able to understand at the very look of it. If you want to understand what those ladies are, they are as beautiful, as charming, as attractive as Vedas and Upanishads, the holy books are. The holy books start telling you that if you are able to understand the depth of the meanings contained in Vedas and Upanishads and such holy books like Quran and Bible, you will be able to look at everything around you as beautiful as those ladies around him. It is never said that he has gone into a marital relationship with any of these ladies or any of these things. It is embedded in him. The whole Vedas, the whole Upanishads, the whole attributions that are given to godliness is embedded in Sri Krishna himself, and all other decorations are misguiding. If you are going to get misguided ideas about this, you will be lost in clothing and you are never going into the reality of nudity. Hope I am clear. Raju Philip, sir, hope I am clear.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Philomena, ma'am, please ask something.
Yes, anyone else? We have only 3 minutes left.
This is a very highly philosophical matter we are dealing with. So
Yes.
better have your notes taken or go to the YouTube and again make revisions. My telephone number and WhatsApp number is given there. Both are the same. Feel free to call me at any time, or you can have even video call chats with me, so that now in depth we will go to the matters and understand, so that the next session that we are going to have will have a continuity. All are welcome for that.
You are supposed to take a class for another subject or something,
No,
articulation of.
it will be on the same basis, but I will have certain more additions on this.
Articulation on when you are in.
Yes, yes.
When you are in the public or something.
Yes, that is it. Because subject, an obscure subject, how will you present? You will have to present with examples only.
Okay.
You will not be able to present obscure subject that like death, birth, and dreams, and all those are obscure subjects. With presentations and with screen sharing and all, you will not be able to tell about them. In a simple words, you will have to explain what is those philosophical aspect of all those words and all those representations. Then only you will be able to convey the idea pretty easily and nicely to our participants. Always, otherwise you will leave a tinge of doubt in everybody. You must be able to make them understand only with simple words. If you are going to have bombastic language in your talk, nobody will be hearing you. For Montessori himself, of course, he had his view, a Christian view he had. Why? Because he was a born Christian and he's a good Christian. That is why he was able to tell authoritatively about the depth of Jesus Christ even when he was crucified. Now, what I meant to say is that, of course, that depth one must understand. Non-Christians will not understand that. Non-Christians will always say that, oh, Christ being crucified, what a crucifixion has gone. And always a sense of pity comes out of seeing Jesus Christ for non-Christians. Non-Christians must also become good Christians only when they understand the philosophy behind the crucifixion of Christ. Hope I am correct.
But the final picture is he is resurrected. That is
of course,
that is the main belief.
Yes, that is
cornerstone of Christianity is resurrection.
You must have a rebirth by resurrection. Of course, that in the following sessions I will be coming to that. Resurrection never says that after death. In every minute you die here, and every minute you take a birth, you are given a chance for resurrection. And if you miss that resurrection, you will meet with that pathetic death at last. Never die a real death. Die only once, and that should not be for another rebirth. You must have a rebirth when you are alive. Die, and tomorrow you have a new birth and be happy with your birth. That is the philosophy behind it.
Okay, sir. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Moti sir, and thank you, Raju Philip sir. And thank you, Vicharabindu sir, for engaging all the participants philosophically too for 1 hour. Okay, thank you all. It's time. So we will wind up the session for time being, and we will meet again tomorrow morning 5:30. Okay. Thank you all.
Yes.
Thank you all
Right.
for
Tomorrow morning 5:30. Oh, that's English session.
Okay.
English session, of course, tomorrow is scheduled for 5:30 in the morning.
Thank you.
So thank you, madam, and we are signing off.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Night.
Matt.